Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Scotland and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel a couple of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the years, a few different styles, and I would say that this brewery are kind of a general all-round brewery. They like to try their hand at a few different things and it usually works out pretty well for them. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a very new release. It's supposed to be quite nice and it's got a hop in it that I quite like, I have to say. So really curious to see how it turns out. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head through to Dumbarton, which is just to the north of Glasgow, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Loch Lomond Brewery. So this particular beer is called City of Gold. It comes in at 4% ABV and they're describing this one as an Eldorado Pale. So yeah, this one was released very recently in the Aldi Scottish Beer Festival range, and when I saw it was an Eldorado Pale Ale, I just thought this would be quite nice. I've noticed that Eldorado has been getting a little bit popular again in recent times. A lot of breweries using this hop now actually, and I first discovered it back in about 2013, 2014. If memory serves me correctly, sometime around then. So I thought this would be quite a nice beer to try it on its own and see what it's all about. And of course, pale ales can be very nice and very sessionable actually. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. And nice to return to Loch Lomond Brewery. I do have another IPA to review from these guys at some point soon, and also a big Imperial Stout actually, which you'll see. So keep your eyes peeled for those videos. Those will appear over the next little while. But yeah, let's crack on and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Loch Lomond Brewery before, and you will see more added to that list in the near future as I said. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to very regularly at the moment because I am back home in the motherland of Scotland. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Loch Lomond Brewery then, on to my brewery notes. So, Loch Lomond Brewery was opened by Fiona and Ewan McEachern in Alexandria on the south of Loch Lomond back in 2011. So these guys have been around for about 10 years now. But the couple had been home brewers for a number of years. They used to brew in their kitchen, and they decided that they wanted to turn professional, having seen a gap in the market for cask ales in Scotland, and they'd also seen the growth of a few other local breweries as well. But the first brewery was located in the Lomond Industrial Estate in Alexandria, and they gradually scaled up this facility over the years. A little bit later though, in 2018, they rebranded and then moved to a new facility in Dumbarton in late 2019, which is equipped with a 35 hectolitre brewery, and they've also hired a new brewer called Thomas McGregor, who previously worked for Black Wolf and Meantime, and this leaves Ewan to help focus on building up the business. But they apparently have plans to move to a much larger facility as part of the new Flamingo Land resort, which is being built up on Loch Lomond as well. But I think there's a little bit of uncertainty as to when that's going to happen, because there has been a little bit of kind of public backlash over the whole Flamingo Land thing up at Loch Lomond. So we need to see how that how all that comes together, because it is, it's a natural beauty spot, and things are and people are obviously very kind of apprehensive about that. So we'll see how that goes in the future. But these guys are still going strong as a brewery business. I think there was plans to have like a brewery restaurant and things in this new facility as well. But as of November 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 85 different kinds of beer, and as I said to you, they do a lot of different styles. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Loch Lomond Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that's it for your brewery history section. Let's get on and actually have a look at the beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. As you can see, quite straightforward, a little bit kind of 70s pattern or something like that. I have no idea. I'm one of the most artistically illiterate people that you're going to meet. more into my music and things, of course, but there you can see the Loch Lomond Brewery thing there, and you'll also see the LO on the back of some of the cans as well, if it will focus. There you go. But yeah, looks pretty good, but it tells you a little bit about what you can expect in it, but of course we're going to do that ourselves. But there you can see City of Gold, Eldorado Pale, but like we said earlier, this one is a 4% ABV one, this, and it says it contains just malted barley and wheat, so I think this is going to be somewhere between a sort of New England and West Coasty type pale ale, this one, not 100% sure, but yeah, 4%, it should be a nice sessioner. I believe this beer cost me somewhere in the region of like £1.50, so that is roughly about, you know, what would that be, about €1.80, something like that, so that's about 18 Swedish kroner, maybe in the region of like $2, a little bit over $2 American for those of you watching in different places. So yeah, we do get some beer festival beers that are very, very cheap actually. That's one of the really good things about Aldi and Lidl. They always try and bring in local Scottish products and things like that. But yeah, 440ml can, this 4% ABV, Eldorado Pale Ale. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So Eldorado, if memory serves me correctly, is about 12% alpha acid. It's an American hop, and it tends to give you a bit of a kind of soft mango and passion fruit sort of thing, but you can also get wee bits of pineapple and apricot and stuff like that out of it. It's basically just a kind of tropical hop actually. But yeah, I have had it in quite a few beers recently and it's always been pretty nice. So yeah, the way that this one should go together should be quite nice. We've had some nice IPAs, and the Brave hop that we had from these guys last time I thought was pretty solid. So yeah, curious to see what this one has in store for us. We've got the majority of it poured into the glass now, so we can have a little look at it properly. So if we shine the light through this one, it's got a lovely kind of very dark yellow, slightly amber leaning colour. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up, but you can see there is a little bit of amber to this one when I put my hand behind the glass, but you can see on top of that you've got a head about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say creamy coloured head. I don't think that's a perfect white, but you can see it's nice and frothy. If we bring it into the camera there, you can see it is very, very nice. But yeah, in terms of what you'd expect from a pale ale, this one isn't really very surprising in terms of its appearance. You know, remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use, that determines the magnitude of the colour. 2, the length of your wort boil is also going to play a role. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do and any adjuncts that you put in are also going to affect that as well. But when it comes to a pale ale like this, you're not going to have to care about those latter 2 variables, to be honest with you. It's all about the colour of malts and the length of your wort boil. A pale ale like this is going to undergo a wort boil of, you know, 70 to 90 minutes, something like that. But 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it looks pretty nice, I have to say. But yeah, lovely kind of light amber colour to this one, which I think you're seeing on the camera a little bit better now. But nothing untoward about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style it is. It actually looks, you know, with the level of haze and things, the wheat is the thing that's given the haze in this one, but with the kind of level of haziness that it has, it's got quite a, it does have quite a nice and it's just got a nice level of kind of haziness to it, which I think is great. So yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider what it is. It looks good. So yeah, don't think we can really say too much more about the appearance of this one. Nice little bit of a kind of natural haze to it. I think we should take a look at the aroma and just see how we go. So let's do it. Sugar it up a wee bit, and there we are. You can see the head's just fading away to be a nice thin foamy layer. But yeah, that smells pretty nice actually. I'll say first off, this is quite a, it strikes me as being a kind of malty leaning pale ale, this one, to be honest with you. So yeah. Yeah, first off, it has got quite a bit of a kind of big malty backbone to it. You can smell some of the hop in there, and you also get a little bit of juicy, fruity character out of it. But to me, this comes across as quite a sort of bready pale ale actually. So I like how this one goes about its business in that sense. So yeah, I think let's break this down. We'll break the aroma down as we always do. So the backbone of this beer absolutely is a little bit of bread crust. You can feel that nice kind of big bread crusty note to it. There's a mix, there's a sort of brown wholemeal bready sort of thing to this one. You do get a bit of that out of the beer, but there's also some nice kind of white bready elements coming out of it as well. But yeah, nice brown bready elements, bit of white bread as well. than the bread crust. There is a degree of sweetness out of this one. Just going by the aroma, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of Maris Otter or something in here. There's just something about the aroma of this beer is telling me that there's a bit of Maris Otter. So you've got that brown bread, and I think the brown bread is playing a role in there. So yeah, you've got a bit of that kind of brown bread. Yeah, you've got a bit of brown bread in there. Some nice kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of things as well on top of that. So you do get a wee bit of a kind of toasty, slightly caramelly note, bit of McVitie's digestive biscuit, and that all sits on top of that brown bread and kind of bread crusty sort of thing. So yeah, I like how that I do like how that goes together. So yeah, the malty backbone of this one, it's a lot maltier. I keep saying that, it's a lot maltier than I expected it was going to be. But yeah, it kind of works out quite nicely. You can smell at the back of the nose. There is a wee bit of a kind of, you do get a wee bit of a wheaty bitiness out of this one for sure. But I mean, overall, it is, you know, it really leans towards that kind of barley malt side of things. You get that white bready wheat. You get that kind of more brown bready Maris Otter type thing out of this though, which is quite interesting. So I really like how that goes together in this beer. I think it works really nicely. So thumbs up to them on the malty side of the aroma. Here, let's look at the hoppy side of things, because of course when it's been described as an Eldorado Pale, we should kind of be focusing on the hop a little bit more. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, I'd say the green side of this beer isn't madly pungent, to be honest with you. It's got a nice little bit of kind of freshness to it, but there's a few wee things going on with this. So the green component for me has a little bit of earthiness. You do get a nice little bit of a kind of bright floral aromaticity out of the beer for sure, and you also get a little bit of that lighter kind of grassy, citrusy character, which I really enjoy. There's some really nice little pieces. There's some really nice little things going on in this one, which I think is which I think goes together very, very well. So on the green component for me, I think the floral aromaticity is the thing that's kind of holding it together, but you get quite a bright but still like wet, fresh cut grass kind of thing out of it, and there's a wee bit of earthiness in there as well, which I think pans out quite nicely. So quite a wet green component to this beer in my opinion, but it works. Let's look at the fruity side of the beer though and see how we get on with that. So on the fruity side of things, for me, it's interesting because this comes across as a little bit more, it does come across as a little bit more kind of like a dried fruity kind of thing than I remember Eldorado being before. So I certainly get quite a bit of, I get quite a lot of dried apricot out of this one for sure. There's a bit of dried apricot in there. There's a wee bit of a, bit of dried apricot for sure. Wee bit of a kind of, you know, like, so I do get a little bit of an almost sultana-like quality out of this one. You know, dried white green grapes. I get a little bit of that. Dried white green grapes, a bit of apricot. You can smell a little bit of that pungent passion fruit as well, but that's quite minimal compared to the other things. So yeah, pungent passion fruit, sultana-like notes, wee bit of an apricot. I do get a little bit of a kind of like sort of oily, pineapple-y, peary kind of thing out of this as well. So that's really interesting for sure. It says on the back here that you should get, you know, stone fruit and pineapple, which I get the pineapple and it says watermelon and pear flavour. Interesting. I don't get so much watermelon out of this beer, but then I don't really come across watermelon all that much in fairness. But yeah, the aroma of this is quite interesting for sure. But a lot of dried fruity characters, as I say, wee bit of passion fruit, like oily sultana, apricot sort of thing, definitely some pineapple for sure, and a lot of a kind of oily peary kind of thing. So I don't know how much of the aroma is being affected by the malt base, because remember the yeast and the malt and everything like that can come together to change the aroma quite a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting to try Eldorado in this sort of stripped back form, if you like. So yeah, this I think could make for a very interesting tasting. But let's just put the rest of the beer in and then we'll give it a taste. But as I always say, take a wee bit of time to ponder over the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, because quite a bit of your taste that you actually get on the palate is derived from the aroma that you smell at the same time. So that's always worth doing. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go. This is the City of Gold, a pale ale coming in at 4% ABV with American Eldorado hops from Loch Lomond Brewery out near Dumbarton here in Scotland. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Yeah, I mean, first impression, this beer is just, it's a really easy drinking one. It's quite a sessionable beer, to be honest with you. Is this the craziest and best beer you're going to get from Loch Lomond Brewery? I don't think so. I think there will be ones out there that are a bit more kind of mental than this. But as a nice, sessionable, drinkable beer, yeah, it does the job. It certainly does the job. The other first impression I have of it is it is quite a grainy kind of bready leaning pale ale, this one. So it's almost got a little bit of that kind of traditional sort of English pale ale type vibe to it, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good little bit of English malt in there. Like I said, there was something in the aroma was telling me there might be a little bit of Maris Otter or something like that in here. But yeah, let's have another look at it and see how we go. So it is, as I said, it is just a nice sessioner one, this. I do need to try a few more beers from Loch Lomond and just, try and get a full idea of what these guys are all about. Like I said, I do have another IPA in the fridge, and I've got a big Imperial Stout, which I'm really looking forward to that Imperial Stout, actually. But yeah, this would be the sort of a nice beer that you would drink on tap at a restaurant or something like that. It's quite a good food pairing type beer, this one. But yeah, we'll try and break the flavour down for you and describe it as we always do. So straight away across the middle of your palate with this one, you can feel a bit of that bread crusty backbone there. That's right there, and you do get quite a bit of graininess coming out. You do get quite a little bit of graininess coming out of the beer the further into the aftertaste you go. So nice kind of grainy bread crusty backbone there. On top of that, you've got a little bit of a kind of brown bready sort of thing as well, so you can feel that nice kind of brown bready layer, and that's both on the middle third and the back third of your palate, so you can feel both of these layers just sitting there. But on top of that, you have a very nice little bit of a more white bready kind of quality. But yeah, the brown bready notes really come out of this one. They come out of this one quite strongly, we should say. So yeah, if we focus on that middle third of the palate, then let's do that. So quite a strong bread crust, maybe one or two little woody undertones as well. The brown bread in there, then the white bread on top of that. You can feel the wheaty layer sort of thickening out the beer, if you like. But on top of all of that, in the middle third of the palate, there is a slight degree of sweetness there. You've almost got this little circle in the middle of your palate where the sweeter side of the beer starts to kind of show its head. But yeah, in that little circle that I'm talking about, the kind of base layer of it feels like quite biscuity. You've got a little bit of that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing, for sure. And like I said, it really does remind me of Maris Otter malt. So you feel that little bit of McVitie's digestive biscuity, grainy kind of thing there. Then on top of that, you've got that nice smooth. You get a little bit of that kind of smooth Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing coming out of the beer, which is interesting. So yeah, quite a little bit of that coming out of this one for sure. And then in the very dead centre of your palate, you might just be forgiven for thinking there's a bit of a straight up caramel. So yeah, there is a wee bit of brown sugary element to this. So when it comes to categorising this beer in terms of style, I would say that it's quite, it is more leaning towards a sort of American-y, West Coasty type pale ale, this, but it has got elements, the sort of graininess and the brown bready character that you get out of this one is quite reminiscent of what you'd expect from an old school English IPA. So yeah, a few different things going on with this beer for sure. Yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is It's really nice. This is a beer that's kind of grown on me a little bit. I thought when I tried it at the start, it was a little bit kind of too grainy, and I would have wanted it to be a little bit smoother, and especially on the kind of bread crusty backbone. But the more that you drink of it, the more your palate kind of adjusts to that, and the whole beer really starts to feel that little bit smoother, and that works out quite well for it, I would say. So yeah, it's a thumbs up from me on that. The malty brace really smoothens out on this and grows on me for sure. But let's focus on the back third of the palate. I don't think there's too much else to say about the middle third of your palate. So border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of bready build up there, a wee bit of a bread crust. Base of the back third of your palate, you get a stronger kind of graininess out of it for sure. On top of that, there's some nice kind of you get the brown bready notes, and again those are a little bit more sort of grainy. You can feel the wheaty bitiness on top of that layer as well. But as I always say, the sweeter elements of the flavour come out further forward on the palate. The more kind of the sort of more grainy, bittery notes come out towards the back of the palate for sure. But yeah, you can feel that in there, and on top of all of that, you can feel the yeasty component of this one. And for me, it's quite a doughy and kind of brown bready yeasty layer that you get on top of that. So the flavour at the very back of the palate is taller, and you can feel that as you move further forward along the palate, the flavour itself just kind of condenses down a wee bit, and as you go into that middle third of your palate, it's just squashed together that little bit more. So yeah, the malty and yeasty side of this beer goes together quite well, and like I say, it's grown on me as I've been drinking this beer. So I don't think we need to say too much more about the malty yeasty side of things, but it is quite nice this, and as I say, it leans towards that west coasty side of things, but there are a few English pale ale sort of elements in here as well. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, in the back corners of the palate, there are definitely a few elements of earthiness there. As you move further forward, you can feel it gradually transitions to being a more kind of floral aromatic sort of thing. You do get a nice little bit of that floral aromaticity in there, and then around the front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter, and it is a little bit lighter and more grassy, if you like. So yeah, that all goes together very, very nicely for sure. The green, I would say the grassiness, it has a wee bit of zestiness there, but it is more like a kind of wet, freshly cut grass kind of thing that you get out of this beer. But whatever it is pretty damn nice actually. So yeah, green component of this one is good, but I think the earthiness and the floral notes really start to dominate the more that you drink of this beer. On the fruity side of things then, the front third of your palate, let's look at that. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. Base, like the backbone of the beer, is a nice smooth brown bready kind of quality. You get a little bit of bread crust, and then on top of that, you get that nice oily bubble where the fruity juicy esters just roll their way out of the beer. So on top of that, you get a nice kind of, you can feel there's a little bit of a kind of towards the back of it, you get a nice kind of passion fruity note. You do get a little bit of that passion fruity note, but as you come further forward on that, you get a little bit of an oily mango, but underneath you can feel what I was talking about earlier, that kind of slightly drier sultana type flavour coming out of this one, the dried white green grapey notes. So yeah, definitely a little bit of sultana, a bit of an apricot quality as well. Then as you move forward into that front half of the front third of your palate, you do start to get the more kind of oily, peary element coming out of this beer, and you can feel a sort of pineapple note, a lighter pineapple note on top of that oily pear that just kind of lingers out into the aftertaste a little bit. So that's pretty interesting for sure with this one actually, is the way that the fruity character goes together, because we're seeing Eldorado in on its own and doing its thing, and it actually has the sort of dried fruity elements, the sultana and the peary notes is something that I've never really picked up on Eldorado when it comes to the the New England IPAs and stuff that I've been drinking that have this hop in it. So it gives you, doing these kind of single hop pale ales and IPAs and stuff like that, really gives you a different perspective on the properties of a specific hop. We also have to remember that this one is a more west coasty type pale ale, this one, so the kind of presence of brown sugar in the malt base is going to change some of the fruity characteristics that you get out of the hop. You'll notice that, like Simcoe is a very good example. Simcoe is very oily in a West Coast IPA. It gives you a really nice big oily passion fruity note, but when you put it into a New England malt base with the oats and the wheat and everything, it's lovely and soft. So you do have to bear that in mind with these hops as well. I think probably a good way to get and even if you put it in a black malt base as well. So Simcoe is another one that goes into black IPAs. It gives you red fruity notes. So you have to be aware of this, that hops do behave differently in different malt bases. So that's why there's so much experimentation goes on. But the dried fruity notes are what have really stood out to me about El Dorado in this one. So this beer has given me a little bit of food for thought with El Dorado as a hop going forward. But I think we can round off this review then with the mouthfeel. So let's do that. So for me, the mouthfeel of this beer, it's kind of bottom end and mid-bodied for me. The carbonation is quite smooth. It's got a little bit of an oily mouthfeel to it, but it's nice and kind of, it does have a nice little bit of slickness as well. So yeah, kind of nice oily slick mouthfeel, quite smooth though. And again, I do like how that goes together. But on the malty side of things, I would say this beer, it is quite grainy. It is quite a grainy and kind of bready pale ale, this one for sure. And it does give you a little bit of dryness from that perspective until the into the aftertaste. On the hoppy bitterness side of things, I think this one's like, you know, a 30 or maybe 40 IBU beer. I think maybe it feels a little bit more than 30, so I could see this one being 40 IBUs at least. And then the fruity side of things is quite oily and slick for sure. So I really like how this one, I do really like how this beer goes about its business. It's got a really nice kind of vibe to it, and it's one that's definitely grown on me the more that I've drunk of it. So yeah, this is a nice, this has been a nice pale ale, this one. So I guess we can leave it at that for this review. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Loch Lomond Brewery. This one was the City of Gold, nearly forgot the name of it there, the City of Gold and El Dorado Pale Ale, coming in at 4% ABV from Loch Lomond Brewery out near Dumbarton to the north of Glasgow here in Scotland. Worth checking out this one. It is quite a nice easy drinking beer, this, and for the price it is very, very good value as well. So yeah, part of the Aldi Beer Festival, so go and check it out while you can. But thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll see you guys on the next review. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.